Some say our next guest taught Robin Williams everything he knows from the ashes of an ill-fated year on Saturday Night Live. He has gone on to become a movie star from Beverly Hills Cop 2, soon to be seen in the Adventures of Ford Fairlane. Welcome, Gilbert Gottfried. Gilbert. Don't fight you.
Stop.
He doesn't want to sit on you. Our next guest begins. Not yet.
I'm sorry.
But so much humor these days really is making fun of people of various groups, of racial groups or chronological groups or different cultural backgrounds.
Get to the point, would you please? It's really like a long, it's like cultural groups, ethnic groups, groups of different colors for people, people from different countries who have different nationalities. I mean, he goes on and on.
Funny, am I going to have to take this for an hour?
Chinese, black, white, Jewish people who are Gentile people who are black, blacks who are really Puerto Rican, Puerto Ricans who are Chinese, Mexicans who don't speak the language. Get to the point!
Boom. What were you saying?
Start from the beginning. Start from the beginning.
The line between funny and insulting or divisive is often crossed, is it not?
I don't know, I think...
I'm sorry we missed the question.
I never crossed it.
Can you just do that over again? We missed it.
Geraldo, you have no chance.
I'm only in the first segment.
This is Gilbert's show now.
Oh, now?
Your mic, you don't have to repeat.
Now all of a sudden we have manners.
No, I think that there's a very disturbing trend in this country in terms of, you talk about going over the line. There is a line, and I think the line has been crossed. Don't ask me to mention any names. I think we all know who we're talking about. But
George Goebel.
That's right.
It's a lie.
I told you not to mention.
I'm sorry. Slipped out. George Goebel and Louis Nye. They're way too offensive. They're offensive comics. They step on feet, okay? They're sexist. They're racist. George Goebel and Louis Nye end their careers right now. Go ahead.
The son of Don Rickles. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Stay with us.
I have a question for Gilbert. I just want to know, Gilbert, were you always that funny as a child, or just...
Excuse me, can you expand that question a little? We are on with Geraldo. Can you make it an hour-and-a-half question? Can you say Gilbert, or should I say names that start with a G, or people or persons named
What are the keys
Gilbert,
to the business, Gilbert, for you?
Or people of different minority groups who are named Gilbert, or people who are of a certain ethnic persuasion named Gilbert. Is it possible that you, or people like you, or people who are similar to you, could possibly...
The only alumni of Saturday Night Live not invited back for the reunion. Why didn't they invite you back, Gilbert?
Transvestites who drink. Next on Geraldo. Homosexuals who like opposite sex. Next on Geraldo. Nazis who love other men. This week on Geraldo. I'm sorry, did you have a question?
You do Nazi humor.
It's
How
the
can
only
Nazis
one
be
to
funny?
do. You just, boy, put me in a room full of Germans and we just doubled over. Those Germans, they're wacky people. They're wacky, wacky people. People only look at the bad side of Hitler. Why don't they look at the nice things he's done?
Like what?
It's too much to get into. Please, it's too much to get into. This is the kind of audience it is. What? That's when you've got an audience with you the whole way. People look at the bad side of Hitler. Oh, did he do something good?
On cable, does anything go? I mean, can Gilbert Gottfried really do Nazi humor on cable?
Can I, please? I've got this Mangala hunk that I've just been dying to try out.
No, you don't think that stuff is really funny, though, do you?
Well, to Germans it is.
Okay.
Go to Berlin, you can get booked all over the place.
Yeah, my question is, how important is it for an appearance on the Johnny Carson show to a comedian? Is it still a big deal?
Gilbert?
Oh, that's very important. Yes, what was your question? That's very, yes, transvestite.
You want to ask Larry that. Larry does it tonight.
Larry?
Larry does the Tonight Show.
Well, yeah, he's the only one.
Just,
Can you lower your voice a little? It's really annoying.
it's an honor. I've done about a dozen, and I'm proud of each one, and you try to do your work, and they ask you back.
Brown Nose and Johnny Carson now, Richard.
No, he's telling the truth.
Really?
It's helped him.
I'll brown nose Johnny Carson, I don't care. I've got no pride.
I just want to know what you think of Canadian comics.
Is there a difference?
We were just talking about that backstage, all those Canadian comics.
Actually, you know, you're...
What a coincidence.
I love Alan Thicke.
Who's your favorite Canadian
let me tell you, for Canada has given us Martin Short, David Steinberg. There are a lot of good comedians. Dave Thomas, Martin Short, David Steinberg.
William Shatner.
William Shatner.
I write jokes, and I tell them. And some of them are funny, and I'm not being glib by saying that, by the way.
He's being glib. I know this. I know the look that comes over his face when he hates someone.
You know...
Yes. I've known him for years. It's a very subtle look. When he intensely hates someone, he gets that kind of open-eyed look.
Should I stand up or what? I heard that most comics had tragic pasts. Have any of you had tragic pasts?
Yes! Gilbert is my father!
Yes. Okay, I'll admit it. She's my daughter. She's my sister and my daughter.
So who is your co-star here? Everyone hissed. Is that Andrew? Is that Dice Clay?
No, that was actually Tony Curtis.
Oh,
it
Tony,
was just a bad clip. That was from Take Her, She's Mine. It was a film we did in the 50s.
He goes too far, doesn't he?
Oh, he just goes too far. I'm just so angered by him. He goes too far. It's way too far. Who are we discussing?
I wanted to ask all of you if the egocentrism inherent in the kind of comedy you do.
Can you explain egocentrism?
If you find that your personality is too overbearing to have a serious relationship with someone on a very intimate level, or to get married, because I mean you have trouble answering any of the questions the audience asks you.
My two daughters, okay? Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
And Gilbert goes out with some circus performers.
Cameras on, people are trying to be funny. They think something will come
Judy,
out.
what kind of men turn you on?
What kind of men?
Me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dream on, Klingon.
Gilbert, is that your real voice?
No, I actually have an Irish brogue.
When I say the controversial name Howard Stern, what comes to mind?
Yeah.
Gee, I've never met him.
He's
I do Howard. Howard, for
DJ.
those of you around the country, is a New York disc jockey who's on in New York, Philadelphia, and Washington. And he's a so-called shock jock. But I feel that Howard meets the needs of his audience, does a great job. And
You mentioned shock jocks, Richard. What about shock comedy? We're going to have to deal with the Sam Kinison, Andrew Dice Clay
First
issue.
of all, okay, I'm sorry.
That's my co-star.
Yeah, I wouldn't lump the two together. First of all, they're two distinctly different performers. One is a comedian, one is not.
But they both shock.
What?
They both shock.
They both, yeah, but you know, different degree of shock and different subject matter and different approach and the structure of a joke and technically being a good comedian or just being a demagogue who panders to the worst instincts of humanity.
That's me.
Do you feel that specifically Andrew Dice Clay is a demagogue who panders to the worst?
Yeah, I don't think he's a comedian. I think he says he's doing a character, but it doesn't matter because there are people that buy the character and admire the character. So it's a moot point that he says he's playing a character and it's a put-on. It's not a put-on. There are hundreds of thousands of people in this country who, you know, lock into a lot of the things that he's saying. And I'm not for censorship. I'm just for audiences exercising some kind of self-esteem and dignity and
How
taste.
do you feel about the fact that he fills stadiums?
What?
The man does fill stadiums.
Well, I don't. Yeah, he fills stadiums, but I mean, there are a lot of atrocious acts in show business, in music and in comedy that have followings. So I mean, I don't think that's indicative of anything that he fills stadiums. I mean, he's touched on a nerve, which I think was, if I may finish this thought.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, oh no. I think that the majority of his audience grew up during the 8 years of the Ronald Reagan presidency when there was open hostility towards civil rights, towards women's rights, and towards the gay population. And when you're growing up from 11 to 19, or whatever the age range is, and the message comes from on high, which is the federal government, that there's contempt for the civil rights movement and derision towards women and total hostility towards the gay population, it's going to generate this kind of what I call brown shirt humor, if you will.
Brown shirt
humor. That's right.
What kind of comedians or style of comedians tend to enjoy the most longevity in the field of entertainment?
Gilbert?
People who do origami. It's always good. Those little paper folding things, and they make a little goose out of it. Those last long. People who do shadow puppets.
And just an embarrassing moment that happened to you on stage that wasn't planned. It wasn't part of the act, but you probably laughed harder than anybody else because of it.
Absolutely not. Next one.
There's something in the Jewish experience, Gilbert, that makes people
Mario,
funny.
you want to handle this one?
Mario, you tackle that.
Yeah. Something about the Jews. Talk about the Jews. If you want that question answered, dial my very own number, 976-JEWS. Dial 976-JEWS. You have a question, dial 976-JEWS. Tired of talking about Gentiles? Dial 976-JEWS. Okay. Mario, go ahead.
No, I don't want to touch it. You did it. You did it justice.
Is there, Richard?
Well, obviously there is. I don't know why.
You're Jewish?
For some...
I'm learning new things. The Adventures of Ford Fairlane with Richard Belzer's favorite comic, Andrew Dice Clay. Problem Child with John Ritter. Both in July.